Alright, let's get discussing scales and how to build them. Now at this level, we're only concerned with the first three notes of our scales. In this case, the first three notes of the major scale and the first three notes of the minor scale. Now in order to build scales, there's these little building blocks that we need to understand, known as tones and semitones. Let's first discuss the semitone. Semitone is the equivalent of the smallest little Lego piece. In terms of intervals, the distance between any two notes, the semitone is the smallest within the Western tuning system. On the piano, semitones can look many different ways. It could be two white notes beside each other, providing there's no black note in between, meaning these two notes are as close together as possible. If I was to play E to F, that is true. If I was to play F to G, that is not necessarily true, because there's a note, F sharp or G flat, in between. So our semitones can look like white, white with no black in between, white to black, black to white, but never black to black, because there's always going to be some white notes in between the black notes. So that's the semitone, the smallest possible building block. Simply put, it's two notes that are closest together with no notes in between. But if we were to put one note in between those two notes, then we would have a tone. Now keep in mind, semitones can also be called half steps, and tones can be called whole steps. And this whole step or tone is simply two notes with one note in between. So if I was to have a C to a D with this C sharp, D flat in between, that would be a tone. Same with C sharp to D sharp with a D in between. That would be a tone, as well as diagonal black to white with a white in between, or diagonal white to black with a white in between. If you're finding this confusing though, there's a simple trick that you can use. Simply cover up all of this white part of the keys and just see what's happening up at this level where all the keys look to be the same width. This black key is the same width as this part of the white key. So when you're moving a tone, you would move two notes in either direction, so two notes up or two notes down. When you're moving a semitone, it's simply one note over. So those will be our building blocks. The idea of having a semitone or a tone, stringing them along in some sort of pattern, creating a scale. But that first chunk of the scale, the first three notes, always in the Western world, for now, is going to start with a tone. So let's say we're starting on C. C sharp is a semitone, so I'm going to pass by it on my way up to D. So we have our first note C, our second note up a tone, D, and we're going to move up a tone one more time to E. This is Do, Re, Mi, where we've selected C as our Do. So C is our home base Do. D, Re in this case, often wants to take us somewhere, potentially back down to Do or up to our third note, Mi, the uplifting Mi, arguably the note in the major scale that most makes that scale sound major. So there's going to be some notes in a major scale, for example, Do. There's nothing innately major about Do. A minor scale can start on Do, a major scale can start on Do. So what is it that makes that scale sound major? I would say the third note, Mi, very much makes it sound major to the point where that is also why our major chord sounds major. We'll get to that later. But if you want to look ahead, I would say the other note that really makes it sound major is La. We'll get to that later. So we have Do up a tone, Re up a tone, Mi. This is the first part of our major scale, and it's what we will be working with at this stage for this course. To alter these notes so that they sound minor, we're only concerned with changing that third note. Remember, I said that's the note that most makes the scale sound major. So we're going to change it so it sounds more minor. All we're going to do is take the third note and lower it one semitone, or we could say we're going to flatten the note. Here's our Do up a tone, here's our Re up a semitone, here's what we're going to call may, the flat version of me. Now when solfege syllables become flattened, they take on an A sound. La becomes le. So becomes say. Me, in this case, will become may. Listen to the sound of do, re, mi. And listen to the sound of do, re, may. These will be the solfege syllables that we're going to be working with for our sing-back, ear tests, and reverse ear tests as you get through this course. So let's do a quick recap. Scales start on do. For the sake of these courses, we're going to be moving up a tone to re, and then we have the option of moving up another tone to make it sound major, where we land on mi, or from re, we can move up a semitone up to may, giving those first three notes a more minor sound. Do and re are common between the major and minor sounds, so mi versus may is ultimately the thing you want to watch out for the most when you're trying to determine the tonality of your scale. In other words, is the scale sounding more major or more minor? Another thing worth mentioning is that our ear tests and our singbacks at this level will either start on do or mi. The reason for this is that they are considered to be more stable tones, good places to finish. So do is ultimately our home base. It is a great place to finish any sort of phrase. Re is a passageway to do or mi, or sometimes may, and that mi or may is still a resting place, but arguably you could say that it's resting while accenting the tonality. Do is just very final, but mi is maybe uplifting, whereas may might be a little bit of a sad but stable finish. There it is, a quick overview of the first three notes of your major and minor scales. We'll be putting these to use as the course moves on. I'll see you in the next class.